Good morning, YouTube. It's Jeff Hale back with another instructional video. Welcome, hunters, fisherwomen, fishermen, to my channel. Hoping to make you a more comprehensive outdoor person. So today we're going to talk about the no-slip mono loop. Now this is a knot that's actually pretty cool because the more I do different types of things, like I've learned things from hunting that I've applied to fishing, and I've learned things from fly fishing that I've applied to gear fishing, and vice versa. This is a knot I originally learned with respect to fly fishing, but I've now used it a lot when I gear fish. For example, if I'm fishing a spoon, right, and I want there to be more action. So sometimes you'll hear guys talk about, well, I'm going to use a 20-pound test leader on my spoon because I want there to be more action. It seems like I get better action on a lighter, limper leader than I would if I say like used a 40-pound leader with a spoon, right? And sometimes also people will lengthen their leader and they believe it gives them better action. Well, one thing you can do is if you are going with a lighter leader, and let's say you're fishing a spoon behind the boat and you're getting violent strikes and you're breaking off, well, naturally you're going to step up to a higher leader pound test. So for example, let's say I was getting broken off on 20, I might go up to 30. But here's a way that I can go up to 30 and increase my breaking strength and still have the best action on my lure possible, and that's by using the no-slip mono loop. For fly fishing, it's the same thing. When I fish a nymph or when I fish a streamer, I want that fly to look untethered. I don't want it to look like it's tied to a piece of line. And one of the ways I do that is with using the no-slip mono loop. And again, it also allows me to step up in tippet size. So maybe I'm fishing a 3X tippet and I'm stripping and bam, I got big brown trout or big coho and they're cracking my fly and they're just breaking it off. I can step up to a more thicker, robust leader size or tippet size, like a 2X or a 1X or an odd X, and I can even use this no-slip mono loop and give better action to my fly than I did with lighter tippet. So today we're going to talk about the no-slip mono loop. And I have this super heavy cord because I know it's easier to see. And today we're going to use this big old school giant spoon I have because it has a great big eye in it, right? And actually, believe it or not, these old spoons these old timers used to use still work. They really work. But most of the spoons we're using these days are smaller, not necessarily this fat and this wide, but sometimes we do. All right, so again, you can use this knot for fly fishing or gear fishing, and I think it's mandatory. Every fisher person should know how to use this knot. So we're going to start with our leader. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to put an overhand knot in your leader. Okay, so that's it. I've put an overhand knot in my leader. This is the end going to the fly or the lure. This is the end going to my rod. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk this loop up my line a little bit so that I have enough room. Okay, I want to walk this loop up. So all I've done is I still got the loop, the overhand knot in my line, but I have a longer tag end. Okay, now I'm going to take my spoon or my fly and I'm going to take this end and put it through. So all I've done is taken one end of this line and put it through the eye. Okay, now I want you to take a close look at this loop. Notice this knot, this loop here. I have a piece of line coming out on this side of the loop. You want to take your tag end and go back through this knot on the same side you came out on. So this would be correct. Do you see how this is correct? I'm going back through the same side I came out on. This would be incorrect because now I'm going back through the knot on the opposite side I came out on. This is no, you do not want this. You want where you're coming back through the overhand knot on the same side you came out as. So I'm going to thread this through and then show you what it looks like. Okay, here we go. So you see, overhand knot, went through the eye of the hook, and then I came back through on the exact same side that I went out on. Can you see that? I'm coming back through the exact same side. Now, because this is heavy line, I'm not going to take 3 turns, but most of the time I take 3 turns with mono. Now, with lighter mono, I might do 4. So if I'm using, you know, like 8 or 10 pound test, if I'm using super heavy mono, like say 40-pound test, I might only do 2, but 3 seems to be the magic number. So I'm going to take the tag end and I'm going to go 3 times around. I'm going to go 3 times around the main line coming off the reel or the rod. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. And I'm actually only going to go twice because I want this knot to work and I have a very, very heavy line here. Okay, so I've gone around 3 times. Now, the temptation is to go right through this, back through the center of this loop, right? The temptation is I'm going to go right through the middle of that with my tag end. That's wrong. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to go through in between the line in the middle and the top of the loop. So here's the whole loop. You don't want to go through that, but if you pull it tight, it creates this little hole. You want to go through the hole like this. Okay? Then, of course, you would lick it and moisten your knot, and then you would cinch it down and pull. And what you have here is the no-slip mono loop. Look at this, all right? And as you get better and better with this, you can control how big this loop is. If I'm fishing a fly, I generally want the loop, that small. Partly because if you make your loop too big and you're casting it, your hook can actually get stuck in the loop. Same thing with your spoon. But I also want to make it big enough so that it's untethered, so that this thing can not only move around on the eye, but it can move around on the line. It can swim. It doesn't feel like it's tied to a heavy rope. Here's the no-slip mono loop. Okay, we're going to come back in just a second and we're going to do it with mono. Okay, let's try this with monofilament. I have some 20-pound test Trilene Big Game here, and I'm going to use the same lure that I had, and I'm going to do the same knot, but this time with mono. Okay, so remember, we take it, we throw a loop in it, okay, I make an overhand knot, and I walk my knot up a little bit. Okay, I keep that loop there. All right, now I take the end of the mono and I go through my lure. Doesn't matter which way you go through the eye of the hook. Okay. And I have to take this tag end and go back through the loop on the same side I came out on. So I'm going to look up which side did I come out on. I'm going to pull it through, and here's what it should look like. Okay. Now, I actually don't want my loop this big, so what I'm going to do is take my fingers and walk the loop down. Look at that, I just decreased the distance from the eye of the hook or the split ring to the loop. That's about where I want it. So now I'm going to pinch it with my left hand. I'm not going to let it move. I'm going to take this tag end and I'm going to go around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And remember, I don't want to come back and go right through the center, right? The temptation is to go right back through the center. You don't want to go through the center. You want to go in between that piece and that piece. Watch where I go. Right there. Let me show you again. Right there. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to lick it. Okay, and you can even adjust at this point. You can kind of adjust your loop. All right, now take your fingers and after it's wet, massage it down tight, okay? And then you're going to want to pull directly between the 2 pieces. Take your tag in and snuff it down, and what you want is a nice little tidy, neat knot. Check it out. I'm going to have a lot more action, especially on a small, lightweight lure. Like, think about using a coho killer, right? If you tie a piece of 30-pound test to that thing, it's going to be tethered. You want that coho killer to be able to swim and do whatever. It's a very light, small spoon. What knot should you use? You should use a no-slip mono loop, and you should use 30-pound test. That way you can catch a huge king on a small, light spoon and give it maximum action. All right, I hope this helped you, and if you did, please like my video. All right, catch you guys again soon.